Every student has a story inside them. It could be a wild adventure, a quiet poem, maybe a whole universe of their own creation. But the big question is, how do we help them actually find the words? Well, today we're diving into a blueprint that's designed to do just that, to turn those classroom daydreams into actual, compelling, published stories. Just think about it for a second. How many incredible tales are locked away in young minds, just waiting for the right key? It's a huge question, and it's really at the heart of this unique educational experiment we're talking about today. And it turns out, there's a structured, really thoughtful program, a blueprint, you can say, that doesn't just ask kids for stories. It actually helps build the storytellers themselves. Which brings us to our focus, the Budding Authors Program. We're going to look at how this whole initiative plants that first seed of an idea and then nurtures it into something amazing. So, what is this thing, officially? Well, the Budding Authors Program is a platform created by India's Central Board of Secondary Education, the CBSE. It's specifically for students from the 5th to the 10th grade, and it gives them this dedicated space to get creative and work on their writing in either English or Hindi. Basically, it's like a giant open invitation to let your imagination run wild. But here's where it gets really interesting. When you look at the program's goals, you see it's about so much more than just grammar and spelling. I mean, sure, that's part of it. But the real goal is to foster creativity, critical thinking, and real communication. The story is the final product, yeah, but the bigger objective is to help shape a more thoughtful, expressive person. Okay, so we've got the seed of the idea, but how does it actually grow into a full story? Well, the program lays out a super clear journey for every young author, taking them all the way from a simple concept to the very real thrill of being published. The whole process is brilliantly broken down into 3 phases. First, it all starts at the school level. For about 6 to 8 weeks, students are immersed in this program with workshops and discussions. Then, the schools pick their absolute best 2 entries from each category and send them up to the national CBSE level. And then, this is the amazing part, the very best stories get chosen and published by the CBSE in an actual book. Can you even imagine that feeling as a kid? Incredible. Of course, a seed can't really grow on its own, right? It needs some help. And this is where the mentors come in. The teachers in this program act like these amazing guiding gardeners, helping these budding authors really find their voice. The program's whole philosophy is captured perfectly right in its manual. It says a mentor's main job is to provide a supportive and nurturing environment. And that simple phrase changes everything. It shifts the focus from just correcting mistakes to building confidence. It's all about creating a safe space where creativity can truly, blossom. So what does that actually look like? Well, the mentor's role is super dynamic. They're guiding students through the messy creative process, giving feedback that's both constructive and encouraging, and leading workshops. They're basically part coach, part editor, and part cheerleader, all wrapped into one. And that's exactly what you need to help turn a raw idea into a polished manuscript. All right, so after all this nurturing, all this guidance, what does the final creation, the bloom, if you will, what does it actually look like? What kind of cool stuff are these students making? They've got a few fantastic creative outlets here. Students can write a classic short story, or they can create their own graphic novel. How cool is that? Or even put together a whole collection of their own poetry. And each one has these clear guidelines, which gives just enough structure without, boxing them in. So whether a kid is a visual storyteller or more of a lyrical poet, there's a path for them to get their voice heard. But here's the thing, and it's probably the most important takeaway from all this. The published book, it isn't actually the ultimate prize here. The program's true value is really in the lasting skills and the confidence these young authors carry with them long after that last page is written. The real harvest is this powerful mix of life skills. Think about it. They're building creative confidence, sharpening their critical thinking, and seriously boosting their communication skills. And of course, their imagination gets a huge workout. These aren't just skills for a writing project. These are tools for life. And all of this brings us to what I think is the program's most profound achievement. It's not the physical book sitting on a shelf. It's the internal transformation that happens inside a student. That moment they start to see themselves not just as someone who writes, but as an author, as a creator with a voice that matters. So I'll just leave you with this question to chew on. What happens when we stop simply teaching kids the mechanics of writing and we start empowering them to actually be authors? The answer to that? Well, it could really shape our future.